I had to get a manager to really believe in me and go to bat for me to get me on his team. It really just takes a lot of persistence. If you can't or you're unwilling to learn, then tech sales may not be for you.
What's up, y'all? If you're trying to break into tech sales, you're in luck. We have Spencer Howie in the house today. He's been an SDR for over 2 years, and he's actually had to survive 2 layoffs at 2 different companies. And he is here to tell us all about his experience in tech so far, if he regrets it with the layoffs, how to be a successful SDR, and how to successfully complete the job search like he did. Before tech sales, he was a therapist, and he actually made the jump into tech, and he's been crushing it ever since. So if you are trying to get into tech sales and you need help, I have a completely free guide I'll drop in the comments below showing you step by step how to prepare your resume, how to find good jobs to apply to, and how to apply to them the right way, and how to crush interviews. So that guide will be below. I've been an SDR leader for years. I help people one-on-one get into tech. And so if you're trying to do this in the next 34 days, that's our current average, then you can reach out to my team. We'll jump on a call with you, see if you're a fit for our one-on-one coaching. Otherwise, that guide is free in the description below, and you can go implement on your own and hopefully go land a job. But with all that being said, Spencer's here to talk about his experience, and we hope you grab some nice tips from this that you can go implement on your own search. Enjoy. Spencer, welcome, man. How many states and countries have you lived in again? Tell everyone where you've been.
I've lost track, but I've lived in England for about 7 years, Venezuela, and many US states.
Oh my goodness. And you said England was the best, correct?
Yes, England was absolutely my favorite.
That's awesome. And you
Lived
specifically though, you said being an American in England was awesome. Why is that?
it's just a unique experience. You're different to everybody else, so everybody has that kind of novel attitude towards you. Definitely fun.
I love it. I feel like it's just like when a Brit comes over here, we're all like, "Oh, we love your accent and you're so cool and unique." So it's probably the same experience, just flip flop.
Yeah, exactly. You're spot on there.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Spencer, really appreciate you being here, man. What's your title currently? Catch us up, introduce yourself. What's your current title? How long have you been in the role you're in?
Sure thing. I am currently an MDR. I roll up to marketing, but it's essentially an SDR, BDR, same sort of thing.
Cool. Okay. MDR. So are you doing only inbound then, or are you doing some outbound too?
I do some outbound, but mostly inbound.
Very nice. Okay. And how long have you been at the company you're at?
It's been 7 or 8 months.
7, 8 months. And is that total tech sales tenure 7, 8 months, or were you in some other role before this?
No, I had 2 previous companies, both within tech sales, application security specifically.
Ah, okay. Okay. And you were probably what, SDR, BDR in those roles?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. So this is your third development role, correct? You've been here 7,
Yep.
8 months. How long total have you been in tech sales then?
It's been just over 2 years, I would say.
Let's go. Okay, cool. So you're going to be great to talk to because you've been grinding for 2 years, man. Really appreciate you being on here. Like I said, tell us about,
No,
yeah, tell us about life before tech sales. What were you doing? What kind of work career were you in?
I was a therapist. I was a generalized therapist doing everything from treating young children to adults to more senior adults, everything from depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, the anything under the sun really.
Wow. Wow. That's so being a cold caller, maybe you're not too different than a therapist. And I don't know, getting to talk to people and help them figure out problems and stuff. That's crazy, man. And I actually get that from you because you're very calming. I feel like I would totally open up to you and share everything. So
Thank you. I aspire to be.
that's great. You probably have a really good phone voice too, because you're used to like calming people down and being on the phones. Is that helpful?
Oh, it's super helpful. I absolutely love the phones. Anybody who knows me in my roles knows that I'm a big proponent of being on the phones.
Super cool. Okay, so therapist, very unique before tech sales. And that I imagine is a lot of school and time, correct? How much did you invest in that career before tech sales?
It was about 2 years of investment, just doing schooling
Okay.
to become a therapist.
And what made you want to switch into tech sales then? Was it the money? Was it the lifestyle? It's usually one of those, or was it something else?
It was it was partially the money, it was mostly the pace of the job.
Hmm.
I surprisingly found being a therapist, it wasn't fast paced enough for me. I require a lot of stimulation just in my work.
Mhm.
And being a BDR in tech sales, you get that in spades.
Yeah, absolutely. Every day is chaos, but it's controlled chaos if you're good at your job.
Definitely.
So I don't know if you're comfortable sharing. It's okay if you're not. What were you making before as a therapist, and then what are you projected to make now? And again, if you're not comfortable answering this one, that's okay. We can skip it.
Yeah, sure thing. So I they had just upped the rates for therapists near when I was leaving, and I was at around 60K. And my earning potential now is tens of thousands of dollars more than that.
That is tech sales, especially when you're in the role as long as you've been. I'm sure. Did you get recruited over to other companies? Is that kind of what happened?
No, so I at the first company I was at, I was laid off after about 6 months only, and then found my way into another role that I was at for about a year. I moved up into BDR team lead over there, and then that company was struggling a little bit, and they laid off the whole team, and I made it to my current role.
2 layoffs, man. So that's actually a big thing that people bring up when they're like, "Hey, tech sales sounds great, but I keep hearing about all these layoffs." What would you tell that person who's not in tech yet, and that's the reason that they're not gonna go in? They're freaked out, that it seems unstable. What would you say?
Tech is a small world, and if you invest in yourself to build those connections with managers, with your peers, you can build yourself a strong network to be able to find other roles without huge amounts of effort. I'm a big proponent of using your network. I know it's something that everybody says, but actually doing it is so powerful.
Yeah, I agree. Once you're in, you get this safety net of industry security, right? It might not necessarily be job security, but you're secure in this industry because as a manager, you either have to hire the green person and you're taking a bet that you can train them and that they're going to do well, or you can bring in a Spencer who knows what he's doing. He's just been at different companies and the companies haven't been so stable themselves. So I think that security point is huge, and your network is that security.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
How did you first hear about tech sales in the first place?
I back in the day, I was an AE at a data backup company back when data backup was booming. And then after that, I was an IT recruiter. And it was actually through one of my, speaking of using your network, through one of my colleagues that I worked alongside as a recruiter that kind of got me into my first BDR role after being a therapist.
Power of the network right there. So when you first heard of tech sales, were you nervous about the transition? Were you already pretty self-confident? Was there anything you were afraid of? Like maybe it seemed like something to be afraid of, but in reality it wasn't.
Um, I think I think there's just a difficult barrier to entry. Getting in the door is a challenge, and it can seem scary, but it really just takes a lot of persistence. I had to go back and interview a number of times with the company that I landed at after being a therapist, and it was a journey, truly. And I had to get a manager to really believe in me and go to bat for me to get me on his team. And thank you to him, obviously, as well. But it can seem a little scary, but there's nothing to be worried about as far as learning the technologies. It's something you can do.
100%. I agree. And now that you've been in it 2 years, 2 years plus?
Yeah.
Okay, a little over 2 years. What would you say is maybe one or two of the biggest pros you love about tech sales? And then one or two of the biggest cons that people need to consider if they are going to make the jump?
Sure thing. So, one or two pros. As far as compensation, I know a lot of people are money motivated. That's something that is definitely there. If I'm looking, I'm motivated to provide a life for myself and my fiance, and tech sales enables me to do that. And that's huge. Going back to the kind of fast paced nature, I'm never bored at my job. I enjoy, sometimes it's challenging. This stuff works. You don't need to be an expert, but you have your sales reps and your sales engineers for that. They're here to support. You just need to be able to talk the basics. But if you can't or you're unwilling to learn, then tech sales may not be for you.
Such a good point. And I think the thing to highlight there is everyone will say, "Oh, I'll learn a new skill," but it's actually you never actually get to a place of mastery in tech sales where it's I'm done learning. I clock in, clock out. Like you can get very good and consistent and proficient at your job because the industry changes so much, because it's software and your company's changing so much, strategies changing, the team is changing, your AEs, they might get promoted or leave the company. You're going to have all this change, just like Spencer's talking about, which is why you do have to be someone that is you're okay continually learning and continually feeling like, all right, I just mastered this, but I still have this gap now. Okay, I got here, now I've got this gap. And that's just part of improving as a human. So I love it, right? Because I'm someone who wants to grow and learn. But you're right. I could see someone being like, man, I don't want to feel like I always have more to grow in and learn in. That's fair.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Cool. Okay. So you said it was a bit tough getting in, and that is a barrier to entry, which I agree, right? What I do is I help people get into tech sales, and I just see it all the time. People are applying for months and they just can't get in. So they either give up or they go a different route and try to get a coach or a boot camp or something. So what was your journey like coming in to tech sales? And I want specifics if you can. Did you just mass apply and you put in 500 applications? Did you hit up a handful of network connections? What specifically did you do to get started?
I'm going to separate into two different journeys.
Mm.
The furthest back journey, leaving life as a therapist, and then the most recent job search, which I think will be a lot more relevant to most people. But the leaving life as a therapist, I just worked my network connection who was working at this company as an AE had
When you
said,
say
"Hey,
that, was that like a family connection, or how did you even get connected in the first place?
he was a close friend. We worked together recruiting in the past."
Okay. I forgot who said this, but it's such a good point. Your network is about who knows you, right? And so probably because this guy knew you and you had a relationship, he was willing to go to bat for you. So I didn't mean to cut you off, but I wanted clarity around how did you even connect with this person?
Yeah, no, definitely. So I just worked that connection. He went to bat for me. It took a long time, but eventually I was able to get in as an SDR there, which was great.
When you what does that mean? Was this months? Was this multiple
Months.
interviews?
Multiple interviews, months. I talking about specifics, I didn't do as well as I think I could have in the first interview process,
Mm.
and they put me on the table, but I had impressed one of the managers sufficiently that he was willing to go to bat for me, and then he got me an interview with his boss, and I impressed his boss, and they hired me.
Okay. So did you get rejected initially then and you came back?
It wasn't a rejection, it was more of, "We'll think on this."
Ah, okay. So you were left in limbo. Got it. And then you got
Yeah,
to take another
yeah.
crack at the bat.
But I think using specifics as part of that journey, a big thing that I did was learn from my AE friend
Mm.
the talk tracks and the company material, the elevator pitch, all of those things so that I could go into the interviews just really firing on all cylinders.
That is a hidden secret that I think if you're out there listening and you're trying to get into tech sales, the SDRs and AEs at the company, you should reach out on LinkedIn, give them a friendly note. Don't be annoying. Be friendly. Hey, see you're crushing it over there. That's awesome. I just applied. Cool. Leave it at that. See if they reply. If they do, you have an in now and try to not milk in a bad way of you're just using them, but build a relationship, build some rapport, and then you can ask them about the interview process there. Hey, I'm actually interviewing with recruiter name next week. Do you remember your recruiter interview? Is there anything I should look out for? And chances are they're going to want to help you. And if they help you there, now you've got an ally through the whole interview process. So, Spencer, man, that's like a golden ticket that if people will do, it'll actually help them go get jobs.
Yes. No, definitely. It's a secret weapon, like you said.
Yeah. So what advice would you have then, right, for that person that's listening and they're like, "Cool, Spencer, I'm a therapist. I'm tired of talking to people and having such a slow workday myself and I want more money, I want a better lifestyle. I want to get into tech sales." What advice would you give them, specific things they can go do to actually go get a job and stand out from everyone else?
For starters, you paint a target on what you want. Do you want to work in tech sales is a big moving target, right? Do you want to just work in application security? What type of tech sales do you want to do? Is there something you're really interested in or is there not? Are you okay with anything? What do you want? And if you figure out what you want, then you can actually go after it. Because when you're 3 months into a job search process and you're struggling and a recruiter from a door and window company hits you up and says, "Hey, do you want to come work for us?" You'll say no because you know what you want, right? You want to work in tech sales for an application security company, and that's what you're looking for. Learn about the competitors, learn about the different companies in the marketplace that compete with each other. It may be that two of them don't have openings, but one does at this moment. And speaking of specifics, I interviewed in my last interview process with two, not one, not two, but three companies that all play within the same space. And I got rejected from two of them. And the third was my current job.
Wow, that's awesome. That I really like the advice of focus. And focusing is not so much about what you say yes to. Focus is actually more about what you're saying no to. And so if you can just get dialed in on, hey, I want to do this. I want to work in enterprise network security, or I want to work in application development, or I want to work in fintech, that helps. Now my only encouragement with that is if you don't really care what you want to do, then don't make that a sticking point because there's only so many jobs out there. And if you're waiting for, oh, I really want to work at this one company, it's going to take you a long time probably to go break into that one company, right? So be a little more open minded. But to your point, Spencer, if you can get dialed in on what you want to do, all that energy, all that glucose is just going to be pointed in that direction.
Yeah, manifestation is a real thing.
Yeah, absolutely. If you set your eyes on it and that's where all of that attention is going, it's only a matter of time at that point before things happen. Cool, man. Thanks for hanging out with us. I guess the last question I have for you is the job search can be pretty scary, defeating for people. Any words of encouragement to give anyone out there?
Yeah, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Life in general as well as the job search. It's a marathon. You're going to get rejections. You're going to go 5 rounds with a company that you think you really like and they're going to reject you. That's going to happen. It happens to many people. You're not alone. It's yeah.
It's sales. The job is no different, guys. Just in case you're out there listening, you're gonna grind. Man, they're gonna book a meeting with me for sure. They're gonna help me pass quota, and they're gonna ghost you. And you just got to keep it moving. Spencer, any final words for us, man?
No, I just wanted to thank you for having me on and really appreciate getting to share my thoughts.
Yeah, man, we appreciate you. Thanks for hanging out with us. Way to crush it over there. You got to move up to team lead, and that's the beginning for you with just the promotions in your career already. I'm really excited for you, man. Keep it up.